Hello and welcome to today's MSI 2024 preview video where we're going to go over Fnatic from the LEC. They are the 2 seed going to this tournament. So last time Fnatic went to MSI was in 2018. They would finish 3rd, 4th. This is the 3rd appearance for the organization at this event. The only non-Eastern team to ever win Worlds. Fnatic 100 years ago, but it did happen. The only time that we had a 2 seed go to MSI from the LEC was last year when the format changed. That was G2 Esports, as G2 lost to Mad Lions last year in spring, and G2 would finish 5th, 6th. This roster, pretty much the same as last year at Worlds. 4 of the 5 players are the same. The coach is also the same. Oscarinin in top lane, taking on a weak side role this past spring. Had a 3-2 KDA, 7-7 CS per minute, and about a 50 KP. So not a lot of farm, but also not involved. I'm not a big fan of when those two things are combined. In my opinion, if a player is not getting a lot of resources, is not getting a lot of farm, then they should be creating and making something happen. However, Oscar was just kind of weak-siding it. There were moments where he left a little bit to be desired, but he is one of the youngest players in LOL Esports in his role, so it's hard to really actually criticize him. In terms of return on investment, damage divided by gold, 1.25 per minute. That's very good for a top laner. 20.3 20.3 gold share, sub 19% damage share. This team is very aggressive. You're going to find that in that return on investment stat where it's 1.25 for Oscar, it's high for these players versus when you look at other teams in the tournament. And we saw them in playoffs kind of just like constantly force fights. And to be honest, that's probably better for them than not forcing fights at this international event, at least in my opinion, because what I've found over the years is that if a Western team goes to a tournament and just tries to, for some reason, outscale an Eastern team, they're going to lose that late game team fight. If they decide to try and culminate into a, Baron fight or a soul fight, Elder, whatever, if it even gets to that point, the Western team usually loses to the Eastern team because they don't have hands. Now, of course, we have 2 Korean imports on this team, but the fact still remains, I think a team is better off throwing caution to the wind in the early game and hoping to get a lead off of that than trying to scale up and then meet their, maker in the late game. On average, at 15 minutes, he's behind 70 gold, up 2 CS, 60 XP. I mean, that's pretty good, actually, given his CS, that he is somehow ahead at 15 minutes. It goes to show you that in the mid to late game, he gives his farm away, and we're going to kind of look at why. 17 solo kills, 18 champions played, a wide champion pool. In 51 games, his 3 most played, Kayasante, Zach, and Rek'Sai. Last year at Worlds was his only international experience, going 4-5. Did struggle, but it was, once again, at Worlds, and I think 3 of those 9 games are against BLG, and I think we really need to, or even, it was either Weibo or BLG. Regardless, going against the Shire Bin as Oscarinin in your first international experience is going to really hurt your numbers. 7-9 CS per minute, 46.5 KP. The team did not fight around Oscarinin last time. 1.27 return on investment at 15 minutes behind, about 385 gold, 3 CS, 270 XP, had 3 solo kills in those 9 matches. In the jungle, we have Razork. Razork is more often a carry-oriented jungler. 3-6 KDA, 6 CS per minute, 70.5 KP. He gets a lot of farm, more farm than your average jungler. And a 1.11 return on investment is also relatively high. Like I said, we're going to find that all 4 players, not June, do deal a lot of damage relative to their gold. 18.6 gold share, which is standard, but 15 damage share, which is about 2 to 3% higher than a lot of teams at this event. And you're going to think that's not that much, but it really is, because that 2 to 3% is being given to another role. And when you think about it, Oscar has a very low damage share at sub 19%. So somebody is getting all of this extra percentage of damage share on this team. On average, ahead 185 gold, 11 CS, 335 XP. He does find a way to get ahead in camps in the early game. 7 solo kills, 11 champions played. Vi, Xin Zhao, and Poppy, his 3 most played. Internationally, he's 10-10, 2-1 KDA, 5-8 CS per minute, 74 2 KP. He is somebody that gets very involved 3 out of every 4 kills in these 20 games. A 1-1 return on investment. Tracks, he is the same player he's been for a couple of years in style. At these tournaments against international junglers, behind about 200 gold at 15 minutes, up 6 CS, down 15 XP, 2 solo kills. So he stands his ground. Razork, I would say, is world class at these events. Does that mean he's dominating? No, but that also means I don't feel like he's getting gapped over the entirety of the tournament. In mid lane, you have Humanoid, who I consider to be world class. He can stand his ground against any mid laner in the world, at least in laning phase. Now, the rest of the entirety of his profile, something else, but laning phase, he is very, very good. 3-4 KDA, 8-9 CS per minute, about 67 KP, so 2 out of every 3 kills has Humanoid's fingerprints on it. 1.82 return on investment, damage divided by gold. That is one of the highest in the world and in any role. That may, honestly, without really double checking, I did videos on this a couple weeks ago. That might be the highest in the world outright, 1.82. That's crazy high. You can't deny that the resources given to Humanoid are not being used, more so than anybody else is really using resources, at least as a carry. 23% of the team's gold and over 30% of the team's damage. He is the carry of this team. On average, up 165 gold, 4 CS, 20 XP. He's not gapping in the first 15 minutes. And hell, if he was, maybe he gets more gold. I don't know what happens to the damage, but Razork's getting a little bit of that early game farm relative to other players. Humanoid, 18 solo kills, 11 champions played in 51 games. Azir, Orianna, and Corki, his 3 most played. Internationally, he's the most experienced at 41 and 41 over his career. 1.8 KDA, 9.1 CS per minute. Does die a lot, that's without question. I think at Worlds last year he died more than he had kills. Sub 60 KP, so under 3 out of every 4 kills. He's more so worried about getting resources. 1.37 return on investment at 15 minutes against enemy mid laners at these tournaments. Ahead 215 gold, 9 CS, 190 XP, 29 solo kills. His only MSI appearance, the only MSI appearance on this team was in 2018 with Mad Lions. Sorry, they weren't a thing in 2018. They're still Splice. 2021, 3rd, 4th with Mad Lions. Bot lane, Noah June. So there's some key stats I'm going to touch on, and then we're going to combine some stats. Noah is one of 5 80 carries, I believe. I did this video a couple days ago. I think he's one of 5 in the regular season to have no Senna games, but he did play 2 during playoffs, so we had to combine stats. Otherwise, I would have actually just left them separate. 4.3 KDA, 71.7 KP, so involved. Actually, the most involved on his team. The bot lane were the ones that, it's kind of funny, the bot lane was the most involved players on this team in terms of kills. 1.58 return on investment, which is okay, it's solid. 12 solo kills, which is probably why his KP is the way it is. 11 champions played in 51 games. Varus, Zeri, Callista, his 3 most played. Internationally, he's 4 and 5. Had a 4.8 KDA, 9.5 CS per minute, 64.3 KP. More kind of concerned with getting resources. Return on investment, 1.2. So, and we're going to actually, one second. And at 15 minutes behind, just under 200 gold, 7 CS, 165 XP, had 1 solo kill in those 9 games. Noah is the type of Korean import AD carry that kind of goes through the motions of the game, and then in the late game team fights, he just wins with hands diff domestically. Um, and this kind of relates to what I went over earlier, that Eastern teams will just do this to Western teams on the international stage. And then Eastern players that can't really cut it in those Eastern regions that import out still are that much better than their Western counterparts in the most cases, that they can do it again. Now, internationally, when he goes to Worlds last year, doing that's not going to work. That's why his numbers are the way they are. That's why not quite as aggressive. KDA is nice. Farm is nice. But the damage is not. And I feel the same way about Berserker with Cloud9, Root with Loud. Obviously, Root is a lot. I think he's much older than both of those players. But regardless, it's the same vibe of Korean import AD carry in another region. June. First split outside of Korea, or at least, in a tier 1 region. Excuse me. 3.4 KDA, 73.1 KP, 0.79 return on investment. Purely a true support. He is not playing carry-oriented champions. Like I said, Senna was not a pick by this bot lane much at all. 4 solo kills, 16 champions played in 51 games. Nautilus, Renata, Rel, his 3 most played. No international experience. When we combine the 2 bot laners, they have about a 10.4 CS per minute. That's solid. 38.2 gold share. And then this is the concern. 35.3 damage share. Return on investment in terms of the share is not there because Humanoid is dealing so much damage. And because June is playing more supportive champions, Noah needs to make up for that. Noah needs to deal a higher percentage of the team's damage. Now, he is dealing like 750 DPM. So, I mean, I doubt that he can get much more than that. So the team just kind of has to work through things. It's really just the fact that, the fact of the matter is they just kind of throw shit at the wall and see what sticks. And like I said earlier, that's probably for the best at this tournament. I know a lot of people watching the series that Fnatic played had took issue with them literally playing like this. But the proper play is the predictable play. And the predictable play, if you don't have the hands to compete, is not going to win you games, at least in my opinion. So that's a thing. At 15 minutes, this bot lane only had about 150 gold, 2 CS, 330 XP. Domestically, that's not great, especially when it's 2 imports playing bot lane against domestic European bot laners. 4.95 vision score per minute, placed about 12 wards every 5 minutes. 0.64 control wards, so 3 control wards every 5 minutes, and clear about 4 wards every 5 minutes. So the vision's there. The bot lane's just a bit passive. Knight shares the coach, went 4 and 5 last year at Worlds. That is his only international experience. Fnatic are at play-ins. I expect them to get out of play-ins. I'm sure. The notion that this team is going to compete for the entire thing would be silly. We're not going to actually think that. But they can definitely beat FlyQuest or Team Liquid. They certainly could. And at the same time, they could lose to PSG. I think that this team is just kind of, like I said, throwing stuff at the wall. Works both ways. So thank you for watching. If you liked the video, like it. Subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Follow me on Twitter. Join the Discord. Become a YouTube supporter. And I hope to see you again tomorrow.